Welcome to this afternoon's regular meeting of the board. We have some preliminary matters to take care of before we get to the agenda items. And I want to begin by asking for approval of the minutes from the February 27th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We want to begin today by telling you a little bit about what our board does. This board was created in the year 2000 by the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council. The stated intent of this board is to encourage growth and redevelopment in the downtown area while preserving and protecting the unique features and characteristics of the area. We do that in connection with guidelines that were adopted, as well as an ordinance which has text requirements for demolition and exterior changes. We have a new member of the board today. It's my pleasure to introduce Anthony Wright, who is seated to my right. Anthony was appointed as a member of this board recently by Mayor Newberry. He was appointed as Economic Development Director with the Newberry administration in late August 2007. He was previously the Community Development Advisor with the Kentucky League of Cities for 4.5 years. He graduated from the University of Michigan. He's a 1998 graduate of Leadership Lexington, where he was the first recipient of the Distinguished Leadership Award. He is on the Infrastructure Subcommittee of the Downtown Entertainment Task Force, serves on other boards in the community. We welcome you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is we do currently need to elect a new chair of the board. I am currently serving as vice chair upon the resignation of the previous chair, Mr. Van Pelt. So at this time, I'll ask for nominations from the board for chair.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we place the current Vice Chair in nomination for head of the committee.
Is there a second to that nomination?
Second to the nomination.
All right. All in favor of the elevation of the vice chair to chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we have received a staff report that recommends postponement of an item. We were planning to have the staff present the basis of that recommendation. However, we have been approached by the applicant just prior to this hearing indicating that the applicant wishes to present a motion for a postponement relative to the Centerpoint development. So I'll call on Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on your new position. Yes, as we indicated, we have, prior to this meeting, Vice Mayor Jim Gray was kind enough to meet with us for some time this morning. And in recognition of the need for further discussion among many in the community on this project, including many number of aspects of the project, we somewhat reluctantly but gladly, in an effort to move things ahead and to reach consensus and to reach understanding, are in agreement to postpone for 60 days. We will file an amended application to work with staff to avoid any issues that are misunderstandings that may have developed in the previous application or in our current application. We are committed during that, as a part of this process, we're committed to stand still on any active demolition on any permits that would deal with properties not in the overlay zone. We are also anticipate at least one, possibly more, public meetings, public forums, which we'll coordinate to have the open discussion with the architects present and so forth, to listen and to explain and facilitate understanding as to what issues are and what concerns are and what can and what can't be done. that sort of thing. I believe that is the gist of our understanding for this, for the requested postponement of this hearing for a 60-day period. We'll work with the staff to coordinate another meeting date within that, or at the end of that time period. And we would respectfully request the approval of our proposed our proposal as I've articulated it.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Let me just...
I knew there was one other thing I was going to ask. As we spoke about after the meeting, since we have our architect here from Atlanta, we do have a short, it would be a truncated portion of the presentation that we would like to make to those interested in staying to see it, not the board, but for those in the audience to see it relative to a number of aspects of the project itself, streetscapes and so forth, that will give additional insight into the scope of the project and how certain elements of it are treated. So I believe with the consent of the staff that the room may be available, was maybe reserved for a longer period this afternoon, but there may be 20 or 30 minutes that could be done in.
I'm sure it can. Thank you, Mr. Turner. The only thing I'm going to ask is, Mr. Grady, I assume you were going to speak in favor of this motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Hank Grady. I represent Preserve Lexington. I wrote to your staff and council yesterday to express our support for the recommendation of staff that this be postponed, and I'm pleased that Mr. Turner, on behalf of the applicant, has asked for this postponement. We look forward to meeting with the applicant as frequently as we can over the next 60 days to see if we can close the gap between us. So we support this postponement.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Are there any groups represented who want to speak in opposition to the proposed postponement of this application? Are there any additional comments from staff regarding the proposed motion?
None.
Are there any additional comments from the board regarding the proposal?
None.
The chair will entertain a motion.
I move that we postpone this hearing for 60 days.
Second.
There's been a motion made to postpone for 60 days. It's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Our meeting now has to proceed quickly to a couple of staff items. Is that correct, Mr. Van Pelt?
Just a couple of items, Mr. Chairman. If you'll refer to your packet, there is a staff approval item at 131, 133 North Limestone, Giacomo's, New York Deli. Approval of a canvas awning. The owner wants to install an awning to protect the exterior of the building and his patrons from rain and sunlight. In the guidelines, Guideline 216, a fabric awning is encouraged in the Courthouse Overlay District. Operable awnings are encouraged, and simple shed shapes are appropriate for rectangular openings. So I approve that awning request. There's one more item. You need to go ahead and elect a vice chair for the board. I'm the non-voting secretary of the board, but you need to elect a vice chair.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Van Pelt. Is there a nomination for vice chair? I nominate Mr. Henkel.
I'll second that nomination.
Any additional nominations? All in favor, Mr. Henkel as vice chair, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any further business, Mr. Van Pelt?
No.
Okay. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.